Good day, everyone. I'm Irvin Dave C. Cabu from Grade 11 Resilience of University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines. And today I will be discussing one of the most pressuring issues in today's digital age, which is information disorders. Specifically the big three, which is misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. With the rise of social media platforms such as Facebook, information now spreads faster than ever before. However, not all information that circulates online is accurate, verified, or trustworthy. Many people consume and share content immediately without checking credible sources, which allows false, misleading, and manipulated information to influence public opinions, emotions, and even political decisions. So, in this presentation, I will analyze real examples connected to Cagayan de Oro and explain why they are considered forms of information disorder through fact checking, corroboration of sources, and critical evaluation of credible reports. So, for our outline, here's our outline of the presentation. Objectives, different types of fake news, disinformation, discuss, misinformation, discuss, and then malinformation, and then discuss. So for our objectives at the end of the presentation, the audience should be able to distinguish misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation based on their intent, structure, and impact. Second, critically evaluate information using credible and verifiable sources. Third, analyze how social media influences public perception and political discourse. Fourth, examine real examples connected to Cagayan de Oro and understand why they are considered forms of information disorder. And lastly, to recognize the importance of media literacy, fact checking, and responsibility as a digital participation. So, here are the different types of fake news. First, we have disinformation, which means false info with bad intention. These informations are false or manipulated information intentionally spread to influence emotions, distort public perception, or even deceive people for political, social, or personal gain. Next, we have is misinformation, which means false but has no malice or bad intention. It also means inaccurate or unverified information shared by people who believe that it is true, often to spread through fear, panic, or even lack of fact checking itself. Next we have is malinformation, which means true but with bad intention. It also means genuine or factual information used out of context or weaponized to embarrass, harm, manipulate, or damage a person's reputation. So for our first example is about and the disinformation is connected to Cagayan de Oro circulated on Facebook around February 2025, shortly after Congressman Lordan Swan voted in favor for the impeachment complaint against VP Sara Duterte. So the post said that after posting the names of those who voted yes to impeach VP Sara, I received many messages from friends and relatives asking why. To save time, I'm addressing it here. I voted yes because it was the right thing to do. VP Sara and her family must be held accountable for their wrongdoings. I admit I once supported the Dutertes, but Speaker Romualdez and President Bongbong opened my eyes. The truth is clear. The Dutertes were just using us. They are not the good leaders we once believed them to be. To my supporters, I know you stand with me. Rest assured, the ayuda is coming. After we voted yes, Speaker Romualdez provided additional budget allowing us to give assistance to the people. So that's what the caption of the post said. So the viral post claimed that the congressman, Jordan Swan, who supported the impeachment, allegedly received maletas full of money in exchange for their votes. The Post specifically mentioned Swan because of his yes vote during the impeachment proceedings. At first glance, the accusation appeared believable because it was attached to a real political event. National news organizations such as GMA News confirmed that Swan indeed voted in favor of the impeachment complaint. However, when examining the bribery allegations itself, there were no verified reports, official investigations, or even credible evidence proving that Jordan Swan or other congressmen received money in exchange for their votes. The post did not simply express political criticism; instead, it presented an unverified accusation as though it were already factual. The content combined a real political event, emotional language, and unsupported corruption claims. Because part of the information was true, the misleading narrative became more convincing to the audience. The wording of the post was highly emotional, like phrases such as maleta nga puno sa kwarta and tax gikan sa katawan. So those phrases were clearly designed to provoke anger and distrust toward politicians. To further evaluate the issue, I also examined information from the fact-checking organizations such as CheckPH and Verifiles. So these organizations explain how political disinformation often spreads through emotionally charged narratives that mix facts and unsupported assumptions. So this example demonstrates how disinformation manipulates public perception by attaching misleading accusations to real events in order to influence emotions and even political opinion. Next, we have misinformation is fake earthquake and tsunami warning that was shared on Facebook. So this viral Facebook post was shared in April 20, around no, it was around 2022. It claimed that a strong earthquake and tsunami would soon affect parts of Mindanao, including Cagayan de Oro City. The post spread rapidly because they triggered fear and panic. So many users immediately shared the warnings with family members and friends because they believed they were helping others to prepare for danger. To discuss about this, that why is this misinformation? First, the fake earthquake warning spread quickly because people shared it out of fear and concern without verifying the source first. So, the viral Facebook post about a possible earthquake and tsunami in Mindanao, including Cagayan de Oro, spread rapidly because many people became afraid and immediately shared the warning with family members and friends. Since earthquakes and tsunamis involve public safety, yeah, many users reacted emotionally before checking whether the information actually came from the official authorities. Second, Fivox clarified that earthquakes cannot be predicted with exact time and location using current technology. So to verify the viral warning, I checked reports from Fivox, national news organizations, and professional fact-checking groups. So Fivox clarified that no existing technology can accurately predict the exact date, time, and location of the earthquakes. So this confirmed that the circulating Facebook warning about the supported earthquake and tsunami had no official scientific basis. Third, this shows how misinformation often spreads through panic, emotional reactions, and lack of fact checking rather than intentional deception. Unlike this information, many people who shared the earthquake and tsunami warning were probably not trying to spread false information intentionally, but most likely they believed the post was real and simply wanted to warn others about the possible danger. However, even without bad intention, false warnings still cause panic, confusion, and even anxiety among many people online. Fourth is social media also accelerates misinformation because alarming content gains more shares and engagement online. So the fake earthquake and tsunami warning spread quickly on Facebook because alarming and emotional content usually gains more attention, reactions, and shares online. So during emergencies, fear-based posts circulate faster than official corrections, which makes misinformation is difficult to control once it becomes viral. Next is in malinformation. Is about the altered Rappler graphic involving the councilor Joylene Gurley Balaba and during the 2025 midterm election period involving Councilor Joylene Gurley Balaba, the viral Facebook graphic looked highly convincing because it used Rappler-style branding, a real photograph of Balaba with Vice President Sara Duterte, and a layout resembling legitimate news content. The post claimed that Balaba supposedly made controversial statements regarding the impeachment issue involving Sara Duterte. So, to verify the post, I compared the viral screenshot with reports from credible fact-checking organizations. So, according to AFP Fact Check, the circulating graphic had been digitally altered, and AFP confirmed that the statements shown in the post never appeared on Rappler's official platforms. The investigation also found out that the original image used in the manipulated graphic came from a legitimate Rappler article published years earlier regarding Balaba's political plans in Cagayan de Oro. However, the original context was replaced and fabricated captions and misleading political statements. What makes this example significant is not everything in the post was fake. The image itself was authentic. Balaba is a real public official and her political affiliation was factual. The manipulation happened through the way the real materials were reframed and presented. Instead of inventing completely false content, the edited post, as shown in this picture, weaponized authentic images and identities to create a misleading political narrative. Because the image and media branding appeared real, many audiences could easily assume that the entire post was legitimate. This demonstrates how malinformation works by using truthful materials in misleading and harmful contexts in order to influence perception, damage reputation, and even intensify political division online. So, in conclusion, misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation affect society in different ways, but all three contribute to confusion, manipulation, and the weakening of public trust. The examples that I showed to you are connected to Cagayan de Oro, shows that information disorder is often more complex than simply identifying whether something is true or false. In many cases, real events, authentic images, and factual details are combined with emotional framing, misleading context, or even unsupported claims. This is why critical thinking and media literacy are essential in the digital age. So before we accept or share information online, we must learn to verify sources, examine context carefully, compare multiple credible reports, or corroborate, and avoid relying solely on emotional reactions or viral posts that circulates online. Ultimately, responsible consumption of information is not only the duty of journalists and fact checkers, but also of every individual participating in the online information environment. So that's all for my discussion.